Good evening and welcome to episode 54 of Gazette Sports Chat. I'm your host, Joe Gilloway, and tonight we are going to explore one of PennLive's first ever 25 for 25. PennLive put together a bunch of all quarter century teams, and we're going to talk about the boys basketball teams tonight. And to qualify for this list, it's athletes who've competed in the Mid Penn Conference since the year 2000 to current. So that would be 25 years, and we're going to talk about 25 players. These lists have been done, and they have been presented to the public, and we're just going to kind of break down what they came up with, what PennLive came up with. My guests tonight are three friends of mine, three of the better coaches in the area, that's for sure. I got Coach Mark Zerby, who's kind of not coaching right now. He's an AD, but he was coaching up until recently, and he knows a lot of these players very well. He's coached at least, I think, one of them, maybe more. I'm not sure about that, but he's coached one for sure. He's coached against some, and he's had a lot of success at Milton Hershey. Coach Ty Savercool, who is in his first year at Northern York, after a very successful run at Cedar Cliff, and Coach Paul Blackburn, who was kind of our MVP coach guest last year. He had a great season with his Hershey team. They played for the championship game in 5A, and he was on our show a bunch of times throughout the season. And Ty, Coach Savercool, he's a kind of a recurring panel member too. So thank you all for joining us. And I wanted to do this, guys, because it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of I don't want to use the word contention. You know, that's kind of the wrong word when you're talking about kids and you're talking about sports. But there's a lot of debate going on right now that that PennLive may have gotten this one wrong or this one wrong, and you forgot all about this guy, and this guy was a winner, and he scored a lot of points. And you know, right before we went on the air, folks, we just were talking about how difficult it is to pick 25 names in 25 years. I mean, Coach Blackburn, I'll start with you. I don't want to start talking about the players yet, but what do you think somebody's up against to try to choose 25 names, 25 players over the past 25 years?
Yeah, I think Dan did an incredible job because, like anything else, it's very subjective. It's a lot of people's opinions and trying to put them all into a bag and say, hey, here they are. But I think it's done more or less for what's going on right now, for the debate of it. Who did we miss?
Right.
You know, there's so many great players during that era in the Mid-Penn Conference. So I think that Dan did an incredible job. He went to various coaches, asked their opinions, had his own. I'm sure he had his own resources, and he does an incredible job. I'm thankful he does such a thing for PennLive. It's an interesting debate because it's fun to go down memory lane and look at all these players.
Coach Zerby, talk just briefly about the list, what you see in it without naming names yet. What do you think about this? Do you think this is cool? Is it fun for everybody?
Yeah, fun and like what Paul says, you know, causing and sparking some significant debate probably. You know, I wanted to say too earlier, it made me think about the two young men on here that have passed. That was that just kind of makes you it's just really unfortunate that their lives were cut short for a variety of reasons. So I wanted to make sure that was recognized as well. And the other thing is, like, Mike Dunn's not on here. I talk to Mike a lot, you know, and he would say, like, basketball was never a hobby for me at CD or at Philadelphia University and Al Jefferson, but it really is part of who I am. And so for everyone that maybe didn't get on the list, that was a significant contributor to their high school team, and we all benefit from our love for basketball. And so, like, I mean, there's so many other MVPs that could all be tied for 26. So if you didn't make it on here, it didn't mean that you weren't recognized as a significant contributor in your program.
Correct. Thank you. And Coach Ty Savercool, you and I, we communicate pretty regularly, probably mostly with text, but this is the kind of stuff we talk about a lot, right? whether PennLive's asking us to help with a list or not. What did you get out of it? I'll just reveal this, that you did. You were one of the people that was one of the coaches that was queried, that was consulted. How did you feel about this list and helping to put it together?
I mean, no matter what list you put together, you're going to get critiqued. I thought Dan did a great job, like Coach Blackburn said, of putting together a list without really any limiting criteria. You read the article. He didn't go in and say, listen, I'm looking for the top 25 scorers. I'm looking for the top 25 best overall players. There's if you start adding criteria, you could have a different list of 25 no matter what you go. So, he went in with a really broad lens, and I think did a pretty good job of getting in the ballpark of a good list.
Right. And let me talk about the criteria that they used. And I'm pretty sure it's close to in this order. Coaches surveys. So there were some coaches held in high esteem that were surveyed to contribute to this. Discussion with media members who covered basketball for this era, the whole time or portions of it. Archived content. They accessed the PennLive Patriot News archives, which was probably a whole lot of information. Winning, okay? I would say that winning means if two players were very close and one led his team to maybe a district title or a state championship, that was probably going to, if all other things were equal, that would be the player that would probably have made the list. Unlike other sports, they believe that basketball players on the list should have won at a high level at some point in their career. So All-State, did a player make All-State? Did they make it once? Did they make it twice? The player's place in their program's history. Are they an all-time leading scorer at their school? Again, where did they help? How did they help elevate their teams over those 2 to 4 years, I guess? Not the be all end all, but were you the best player on your team? That's a low factor. As we get down to the bottom here, these are the factors that they gave a little less relevance to. And then lastly, and lowest on the totem pole is post high school career. And I know, fellas, it's so easy to get caught up in that. Well, he ended up at Penn State, or he ended up in I don't want to say NBA because I don't think any of these guys did, but I don't know, probably not. But anyway, the argument could be made. Would you put a Tom Brady or a Ben Roethlisberger on an all-time college football quarterback list? Probably not. Well, they played in the NFL and they're both Hall of Famers, won Super Bowls. That doesn't make them they were both in their own right very good. I mean, Roethlisberger more than Brady, but anyway, I think everybody gets my point. So let's go down the list here, guys, and you can stop me if you want, or maybe I'll stop and ask you guys your opinion. And I mean, I love where this list starts, and it starts with Danye Baylor Carroll. Coach Serby, I see a little smile going on your face up there.
You needed better coaching, I think. It would have been a little bit better.
Exactly.
I look on my thing here. He had 749 points his senior year, but we played 32 games, and he ended up with 1725 total. But I laugh at myself because I did not play him enough as a freshman, and I think he would have been closer to a 2,000-point scorer. That was my fault. But, yeah, I mean, and then it was good to see him be an All-American at Penn State Harrisburg and become their all-time leading scorer and come back and lead them to a 25-5 finish. But, yeah, he was extremely special and at Milton Hershey since kindergarten, but from Harrisburg as well. So.
Yeah, he was one of those players, and I've watched a lot of high school basketball over the years, and he was one of those players that I would say to my friends, have you seen that Baylor Carroll from Milton Hershey play? And a lot of them said no, because the circle we travel in is Harrisburg East, maybe it's Steel High, Central Dauphin, the more of the Commonwealth or the closer to Harrisburg than Milton Hershey is. And I'd say, you got to go out and watch this kid play. And then when they'd call me or text me like right away, go, oh my God. I watched that Baylor Carroll play tonight. He's absolutely incredible. And, and the one thing I don't like to hear either, ever, oh, he's so good for his size. No, he's so good for any size, I think his size was somehow to a degree beneficial for him because he could just get under and around. And, he just was an incredible athlete, an incredible player. So Danye Baylor Carroll, there's not going to be any argument there, and we're not here to argue. But I feel so strongly about him on this list, and one of the best high school basketball games I ever saw was the Mid-Penn championship game at Central Dauphin High School, Milton Hershey against State College. It was with respect to all the other players on the court, it was the Baylor Carroll versus Drew Freiberg show. It was incredible, and so congratulations to Donnie Baylor Carroll. How about Jonathan Breeden? Who remembers Jonathan Breeden? Coach Blackburn, you're nodding. Tell us a little bit about it, because he's one of these names. I mean, East had a small window there. They won a district championship. What a game! What a team they had. They beat York, and they had a bunch of guys that played above the rim. And Breeden was their best guy. They don't win that without him, huh?
No, just it's kind of like the definition of a hard-nosed, competitor, and he really makes a difference. He's obviously very skilled. I know he's still in the area, sharing his knowledge with folks, but just a highly skilled, tough player. Highly skilled, tough player.
Yeah, I was obviously glad to see him on the list. Because East hasn't had, at least in the last, couple decades, a whole lot of success, but they had that one district championship, and he was the guy that kind of led them to the promised land, I thought. How about Tristan Crawford at Steel High? No question there. Coach Savercool, do you remember watching him play?
Well, he's about my age, so he graduated high school a year after me. But obviously, I coached with Tristan at Steel High for 1 year whenever Tremaine was the head coach. So. Anytime you score 2,000 points in high school basketball, I don't even care what level it's at. I mean, that speaks volumes in and of itself. Just because that's a lot of buckets. And in today's day and age, of only 22 games versus what it used to be. That's a challenge. Probably was 24 games back when he played, but still, to have two 2,000 point scorers on the same roster is something special.
And, neither of them, I'll say this, neither of them were like ball hogs, I didn't think. They were just both great players that had 4 great seasons. They won a state championship. And the other one, let's just skip down to Tremaine Hawthorne. He was the teammate of Tristan. And I had the opportunity to see them both. I'm almost certain that Tristan scored his 2,000 first. One of them scored it at Giants Center, but Crawford and Hawthorne, I don't remember any other 2 players achieving that, especially eclipsing 2,000 within weeks of one another. So congratulations to both of them. How about Alfonso Dawson, Harrisburg High, class of 07? Does anybody remember Alfonso Dawson?
Coach live wire.
Yeah, live wire.
He's a live wire, a great rebounder, great athlete. Those Kirk Smallwood Harrisburg teams were something to watch. And you really didn't like playing against them. So, with Alfonso out there, he went on. I believe he went to Towson afterwards. But he's a live wire, athletic. Couldn't keep him off the glass. Ran the floor. A great player.
He was a Delaware Blue Hen.
Delaware. Thank you.
And he averaged just shy of 12 points a game over his entire career. So that's good. Now here's one that, next up is Drew Freiberg. We talked a little bit about him. I don't even know what to say. I know a lot of people probably wonder, who's this Drew Freiberg? The people that are more casual fans that didn't have a chance to watch State College. Does anybody want to Coach Zerby, it's got to be you. You went up against him. He got you down the wire there. Yeah. You did get you got a Mid-Penn championship though. So let's
be
clear about that.
Yeah. And we actually
about Freiberg. Go ahead.
No, that was against Harrisburg in 2016. We did attempt to defend Freiberg.
You did? Okay. I was wondering.
Unsuccessfully, but and then had a really, really nice career at Princeton and then finished at Belmont. But I used to work a lot of camps at Princeton, so I'm pretty connected with a lot of their coaches like Mitch Henderson. And they were, there's a guy that was really started to be really good at State College and then really blossomed for the Princeton Tigers in the Ivy League.
The one thing about Freiberg, at least at the high school level, I thought he had the size of a forward and the skills of a guard, the ball skills, the ball handling and shooting skills of a guard. I think he's 6'5", something like that. So he kind of had it all, right?
Yeah.
And he was smart. He played the game the right way. Okay, here's one that I think that a lot of the I'm sure that a lot of the the people that I've been talking about that kind of travel closer to Harrisburg area and Commonwealth and all that may not be familiar with Justin Fry from West Perry. And I'm just gonna kind of read this this assessment of Fry. 6'10", true big man. There are not a lot of true big men left in this game. Out of New Bloomfield, Fry remains the beacon of Mustangs hoops with his 2006 senior season, seeing West Perry qualify for and still its only state playoff where it advanced to 3A semis, thanks in large part to Fry, who averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks a game. He was all state. He finished a career with just under 1,300 career points. So that's a guy, admittedly, that has eluded me. I didn't watch much West Perry. I see you, Ty. Are you nodding, Coach Saver?
Yeah, I mean, I played against him
okay.
and his older brother in the Perry County tournament every Christmas. And I mean, Justin was a handful, really a throwback low block kid. I mean, I was happy to see him make the list because he's one of those names that people could argue about because like, oh, it's West Perry. And I say that as someone who grew up in Perry County. Right. They're just like, it's different style of basketball. Justin Fry would have been as impactful a player for any program he played on. He was an elite level player.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be willing to or try to quantify that stuff. Like just because somebody plays in 1A or 2A doesn't mean they wouldn't have been. And I'm just going to throw a name out. I'm going to talk about girls basketball. Malia Tate DeFrady. She's just that first person I think of. You know, she played 1A and she played in the Capital Division, but I think she could have played with anybody. And I'm sure there's multitudes of examples on the boys' side. How about Malik Gantz, Bishop McDevitt, Coach Zerby? You're nodding. You coached against him, right?
Yeah, no, he's really, really talented.
What is something?
Still talented. Yeah, I thought very deserving and just continue to get better each year over at McDevitt and then on into college and playing with the Generals and everything like that. I thought that he was a good one.
He was a tough guy to game plan for because he was so good in the open floor and you couldn't keep him out of the paint for anything. The book on him was he wasn't a great shooter, and then all of a sudden he hits a couple jumpers, and kids are looking at you like, "Coach, come on, what do you want me to do?"
Right?
He was so creative finishing. He was worth the price of admission and more.
Wasn't he the leader on that team that lost to Newman Goretti and it was the state semis? Wasn't he that? Wasn't that the year he was a senior? I think so. Hmm. Yeah, they. Ty, I'm sure you remember that. It was in Reading, but Gantz was a great player, and I think is he still playing for the Generals? That's a heck of a gig, man. Lawrence Ham, Harrisburg, class of 02, one of the few players that we were going back closer to 2000 here, and he was a let's see here, 6'6", earned All-State. Had a state title game for the ages. He scored 27 points, 19 rebounds, and 6 blocks. I mean, that's the kind of thing where even if you're borderline, and I'm not saying Ham's anywhere close to borderline, but just a game like that in the state championship, that makes you a legend, you know? So,
you mentioned early 2000s style, and we were talking about Steel High earlier. There's a name that was not on the list. I guess 2001, they won a district title. Walt Chavis. That's a guy that when you look at the past 25 years, had a huge impact on mid-state basketball. I know the Steel High community knows him really well.
So Coach Zerby and I were discussing him. He was a sophomore, I think, when they won the state championship in 98 then. So if he was still playing in 01, yeah, he would be one of my top, where is this guy on the list? Again, I'm going to go back to where we started. I think these guys did a great job with this list, and it's just hard to do. But he was one heck of a player, tough as nails. Let's see here, Brian Linder. Someone has to turn heel on Dan, though. No, Brian, we're not gonna. Brian told me on a Facebook thread last week, if we're gonna say that certain players belong on, then we have to pull certain players off. And that's just Brian, in another setting, we would do that. Okay. If we were just sitting around talking crap or whatever, but that's not what we're here for. And then Rashad Macon, I try to read all these comments. Rashad Macon, Jonathan Breeden changed our program at East. So, how about Tremaine Hawthorne? We mentioned him at Steel High, a 2,000 point score, state champion. Ryan Hill at Steel High, a lot of Steel High, a lot of Harrisburg here. 2008 state champion, best player on that team. Graduated in 2010, went on to Bucknell. And I remember watching Ryan Hill play in the March Madness, the NCAA tournament, which was really cool. J.J. Kelly, Chambersburg. Anybody coach against him or?
I did, and he's a handful as far as. I mean, he could have. I'm told by Sean, he could pick his sport, what he wanted to do, and he chose basketball, and his skill level rose significantly. From his junior to senior year, his decision making and feel of the game, and I guess he's at Miami of Ohio. I think he's going to play there, but it's a terrific player. One of the best dunkers you're going to see at the high school level. So
absolutely, it's just incredible defensive skills. I mean, he just could jump through the roof, and he was an all-state track and field star, and Chambersburg's all-time leading scorer, and that's a pretty darn good basketball school. If you're Chambersburg's all-time leading scorer, that accounts for something for sure.
There was a great quote. Excuse me. There's a great quote I was reading today when I was researching. Back in 2012, Chambersburg beat us at home, upset us. They were a very low seed, had a very mediocre record in 2012, and they were just trying to put everything together, and they did, and they ended up winning a district title, and they were like a 16 seed and beat us.
They were.
Or something.
And that's where there were 20. There were 20 teams, and they were a 16 seed out of 20.
Because I was looking at that team, thinking, "Wow, is there a player that we might mention on the list?" But Coach Smallwood talked about earlier, back in earlier time when in Sean's career, they were playing them, and Chambersburg upset Harrisburg in the district final. I forget what year that was, but they were saying that Smallwood had a suspension and an injury, and they're a little shorthanded, and Chambersburg upset them there. I think it was 2012, and they said, "Well, Coach Smallwood, do you know which team, was going to show up? There's like 3 different types of teams." And he said, his quote was, "Well, no, I saw 2 types of teams. The one that listens to Coach Treffler as well, because he's a good coach, and the one that chooses not to listen to him." Tonight, we ran into the team that's decided to listen to Coach Treffler.
Wow! So that you're in trouble if they're picking up what he's putting down. That's for sure. You're in trouble.
Yeah,
I'm sure Coach Sabercool could correct me. Were they the 16 seed out of 20 teams or the 12 out of 16? Something like that. They were
I think they were around the 15, 16 seed. I know that was the run they went on.
Yeah. So, in fact, we had Coach Schreffler on our show. Ty, you were with us that night, and we talked about that. It was kind of definitely one of his shining moments of his career. So, and Brian Linder, J.J. Kelly might have been one of the best athletes in Pennsylvania, period. Got football offers without playing last 2 years. Probably could have won track titles every year. No doubt Brian Linder on the track and field thing. That's for sure. So let's bring in Susquehanna Township here for the first time. Nehemiah Bud Mack, class of 2015. You guys, did you all coach against him? Or I'm getting confused with the way the divisions were set up.
They were in our conference. They were in the Keystone. We coached against them.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, it's funny. We had luck against them in the regular season. When it came to the postseason, they just took off. I mean, and he was terrific, creative, tough. There's another guy that didn't make this list that was at Susquehanna for a while, and then McDevitt that I wanted to mention, Justin MacArthur. He was so impactful to winning wherever he went. When he was at McDevitt, they were in our conference, and I had a run at Hershey of losing to them on buzzer shots. I think 3 out of 4 games we played them, we lost to them on buzzer shots. It was an incredible run. I think Justin hit 2 of them.
Is he a lefty?
But he's on my list. That he's a pretty good player. We had a lot of trouble with him.
Yeah, and I think the thing with MacArthur is, you said big shots. He may not have been a pure shooter, but he was a pure big shot shooter. That's for sure. You could get him the ball late in the game if you needed a bucket, and he'd make it for you for sure. Okay, here's another one. We kind of referenced this guy earlier at the top of the show, Jermaine Marshall from Redland, 2009. I know, again, this is going to be another one of those names that a lot of people might be unfamiliar with because he played for Redland. With respect to Redland, it's just Redland's not the sexy basketball program like a lot of these other ones are. Who can talk a little bit about Coach Sabercool? Are you familiar with Jermaine Marshall at all?
Yeah, I mean that stretch when he was there. I mean that was a very talented stretch for Redland, and I don't know, it was probably 6-8 years in a row. There was a Division I basketball player on the floor.
Absolutely,
for Redland.
Yeah.
That was a stretch. I mean, he was one of the earlier ones, I believe, in that run that they had. But I remember watching him play. I didn't coach against him, but just a very, very talented player. Again, just like Justin Fry would have been as impactful of a player no matter where he played, what jersey he was wearing.
Right. Okay. We'll move back to Harrisburg now. Is it Shen McIntyre? 2000. Sheen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. You could tell I was struggling there. 2012, real deal. Let's be clear about this. If anybody says, "Oh, what's with all these Harrisburg and Steel High guys on the list?" You don't spread it around when you're talking all-star list. You pick the best players, and McIntyre again was definitely one of the best players here. Anybody have anything they want to say about McIntyre?
I was an assistant at Central Dauphin whenever he was at Harrisburg, and he was just a pure scorer, explosive, could score at all three levels. Just a really tough, tough player, talented, just the type of player that Harrisburg doesn't see from a skill side, that often, because Harrisburg, they grind you, they defend, they speed you up, they pressure you, but then he added elements that just made Harrisburg really good, really, really good.
Yeah, he at the time he graduated in 2012, he held the single season all-time leading scorer list, 24.2 points per game. And, correct me if I'm wrong, a Coach Smallwood team typically isn't one where one guy does all the scoring. He tries to use, 9 to 12 guys and they'll have 5 or 6 guys in double figure scoring. So for McIntyre to average over 24 points a game his senior season, that's a big deal. Deshaun Millington, one half of one of the better backcourts I think I've ever seen, at least in this area. Coach Blackburn, talk about you're a Carlisle guy. What do you think of that guy?
Well, he's another one. I think he won a state championship triple jump. Another great athlete, and he just kind of picked up the basketball and found ways to put the ball in the basket and carry a team to a lot of wins. I think that's a group that went to the Elite Eight of the state.
Yes.
He definitely impacted winning in a lot of different ways. A tremendous athlete and competitor.
I mean, how do you defend? Anybody coach against that team? How do you defend both those guards? But the name eluded me. Who was his backcourt mate? Anybody help me with that? He was a heck of a guard too. I think his backcourt mate ended up going playing college football. He was a D-back, but anyway, that was a fun time for Carlisle basketball. It was kind of the rebirth after a good number of years without a whole lot going on there over in Carlisle. John Morris, Trinity. We're going back to the early 2000s here. State champion. He had a brother that played. What was his brother's name? Another really good player. Was it Brian? I'm not sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but there has to be. There's going to be a handful of Trinity players on this list, and so that's the first of I think 4 maybe. Dylan Painter, Hershey.
Yeah, Dylan was first team All-State. He put up one game. He had 43 points, 24 rebounds, and 12 blocks in a single game. He obviously, in high school, did so much for our teams. But first team All-State says it all. I mean, he was a very good player and went on Villanova and was on a national championship team, and then finished his career at Delaware. Still plays overseas. Was in Finland this last year. Some guys from Hershey that I have to at least speak of. I didn't coach him, but Scott Etherton was All-State in basketball and volleyball. Not that volleyball matters at this discussion, but they won a ton of games with Scott, and he's playing professionally as well. He was over in Germany. Matt Banis was one of our all-time leading scorers, 3-time all-conference guy. Was tied for the most wins in program history. Cameron Sweeney's busting that up pretty good, but and his cohort. I'm on September 5th. I'm being honored and inducted into the Hershey Hall of Fame as a coach, and one of the guys going in is Harold Brantley, and Harold played for me, and Harold was obviously a great football player. That's a lot of his accolades, but there's some memorable stories. I remember beating a Central Dolphin in the Central Dolphin Summer League with Devin Thomas and Harold picking Devin, and we ended up winning the championship. And Harold was a heck of a basketball player. One of my biggest regrets in coaching is not getting Harold the ball enough. I remember in the league semifinal, he was 10 for 10 from the field, and we lost in overtime by a bucket. And I looked at the stats. I'm like, how could I not get the ball to Harold more? But another guy at Hershey is Jackson Muscari. It led to Mid-Penn in scoring, 1,300 points, 3 times all-conference, very impactful in the mid-state. I know Ty, had to prepare and usually came in and really got after him because he knew he was such a great player and impactful. We needed him to do a lot. And Chase Watkins was a guy that played for me, went to the district semifinal and was a great player, played football at Bucknell. But the last one, I don't know, throw Cam Sweeney in there. First team All-State, district player of the year. Went to the state final. He played in 2025.
I don't think that a player should be penalized because they're too new to the list or too new to the to being qualified, I guess, for the list. Yeah.
I throw Cam in there too with Josh Smith from Mechanicsburg. Josh Smith, boy, you want to talk about impact winning, school's all-time leading scorer, all the things they accomplished. Josh had a huge say in all that. I think Mechanicsburg would probably agree with me.
Well, there's some players that were, like the top of the first runners up list, and let's talk about that now. Let's take a break from the actual list. Steve Zach. Redland, right?
1,000 point. He scored 1,000 point at Hershey against us.
Yeah, and that was
great games with them during that time.
That was that stretch that Ty was just talking about, where 5 or 6 years when they had Zingari and Walt Chavis, Quincy Roberts, Scott Etherton, Jeff Davis from Steel High, Matt Jones, Cale Nelson,
Big Spring,
Ryan Hughes had a great career, 1,800 points, 2 All-States. That's a heck of a resume there.
Ryan Hughes, they went to. I think they won it. Didn't they win the district title? I think they might have won a district title. I know they went to the state semifinal that year. But Ryan was a heck of a player.
You better believe it. Yeah, he had a really nice college career too. Nolan Bazolka was one of the better players in the last handful of years for sure at Cumberland Valley. Wayne Fletcher, the leader of a team that went to the district finals this year, back-to-back All-State, that Central Dolphin selection. Josh Smith, I know for a fact that he was right near the 25th, right outside of the top 25. I know for a fact. I don't want to get into it too much, but I know he was a very difficult cut for the guys that put the list together. Then 2 Central Dolphin guys, Blake Hamilton, Desi Washington was another one that I think a lot of people were kind of wondering why he was left out. Never made All-State. And I think All-State accounts for something. I mean, I think that's a strong feather in one's cap. Jaden Smith, Brian Morris. I would just mention that his brother's on the list. Eric Kindler, 3-time All-State. Where'd Kindler play, guys?
Oh,
Eric Kindler.
Camp Hill?
Canisius?
Was he Camp Hill, though, in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. Parker Smith, we just watched him play at Carlisle. Jason Statham from Shippensburg. Sam Sherry from Cumberland Valley. Chris Whitaker, of course, from Harrisburg, one of the all-time greats at Harrisburg. Trey Martin from Middletown. Cam Sweeney. And the note I see here is he very well could be on this list if he repeats his junior, if he plays as well next year as he did this year, his junior season. Aiden Sally, Big Spring. Tyler Hauser. Ty, you coached Tyler Hauser. Nathan McGill,
Northern.
Yeah. Josh Para, Mark Zerby, Coach Josh Para. Was he on the district championship team, or was that overtime game that
Bringing up stuff like this?
We don't want to talk about.
No, we played Muhlenberg in the district final, and
that's right.
Josh would make, 19 out of 20.
Little reverse layup, right? Yeah.
It's not even reverse. He just had to lay it in.
Yeah.
And then we lost in overtime.
That's right. Yeah.
It was a sad year because we couldn't beat Westry and Trinity, so we didn't win the conference. We lose in overtime in the district final, and then we won by 30 in Altoona against Obama Academy, like now 2 wins away from the state final, 23-4, and then the governor shut it down for COVID.
You're never going to want to come on one of my shows again.
No, it's all good.
I'm sorry.
All good.
I was sitting right there at the table too. I watched the whole play, and
I couldn't believe we could get him the ball that easy. And I'm like, we're going to win.
It was a
nice
nice pass, really nice touch pass, like right over the top, a little rainbow pass, and if that was the play that you drew up, the play was perfect. So, but what a player that Josh Para was. Here's another one that I heard a lot of people kind of squawking about. Alfonso Fonz Burnett from Harrisburg. Tough as nails. Another one of the greats. Ben Dupree from Susquehanna Township, to me, had to be close to just probably outside of the top 25. District champ, led his team to a state championship game. They ended up losing. This was in 2008, losing to Steel High. He is on the top 25 football list. Damon Bates, Mason Blazer from Middletown. He just graduated, 2 years ago. Mike Dunn. And Austin Gilbertson. So, and I think it's worth mentioning with all the, I'll be nice and just call it banter, but there's a lot of people that feel they know much better than the people that put this list together, and they're angry about this, and they left this guy out, and why weren't they it was a breath of fresh air that I watched. I was on a Facebook thread, and Desi Washington, he said, LOL, guys. It's not that big a deal. Let it go. Okay. That's the guy that's not on the 25 list. Right. And then, Ben Dupree, the same thing. I was on a text with him just last week. A bunch of us were on the same text together. He said, I'm just glad I was recognized for football. Let it go, guys. The same thing. So, these guys are all, mature grown men at this stage in their life, and they probably look back at their careers with fondness and appreciate all they got out of the game. So let's move. Okay, I'm gonna keep Coach Zerby in for this one. Jihad Proctor, did you play? You played against Proctor?
Yeah, whether he was out. He was incredible. And then what he even did at Purdue.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're out on Sioux Drive on the outdoor courts, in the middle of the summer or whatever. It's just like he's just an incredible, skillful player.
Big and strong too.
Yeah. And comes from a big basketball family and plays really hard. And I wasn't sure how things were going to go in the Big Ten when he was out of Purdue, but he, didn't disappoint for sure.
Very smart basketball player. Like, you could say one thing to be skilled, but to know how to use those skills, he found every which way to score and beat you. He really was great.
Yeah. Brian Linder, I try to read all these comments and questions because I appreciate that they contribute. Brian Linder did remind us, and I was going to say it, it slipped my mind. Harold Brantley did make the 25 for 25 football list.
Well, Paul Blackburn thinks he should have made the 25 for 25 in basketball.
Okay.
How's that?
All right, that's good. you have a say, Coach. That's why you're here.
Hey, if you're going to put a microphone in front of my face, I'm going to use it. Right?
Absolutely. That's what you're here for. How about Kirby Lentz? If you have time, ask these guys where the toughest place to play is. Toughest place to, I guess, coach and have a team play. Let's stick with Coach Blackburn. We're just going to come off the rails a little bit here on this list.
We had Harrisburg Steel High, just incredibly difficult to play at those places. Harrisburg, we beat them the only time I won there, and we ended Jihad Proctor's career. We knocked him out there.
Oh, wow.
And I remember telling my team, I said, hey, this is going to be a different atmosphere than Hershey. And so we're going to go in here and we're going to do our best. But I'm telling you, don't worry about the people. If we start winning, they're not going to be yelling at you. They're going to be yelling at Coach Smallwood, and they're going to start yelling at the kids. Well, we were up like 8, and lo and behold, the wheels started coming off, and people were so upset. And security was doing everything they can to keep things together. And it's always an intense, place to go play and compete because the people there care about their basketball. They really do.
And they felt that they weren't supposed to be losing to Hershey. That's for sure, right?
They're not supposed to lose to anybody.
Right.
Never
Especially Hershey is what I'm saying.
Don't get them started. There's nobody that's coming into Harrisburg that they're worried about. So
right, exactly.
And Steel High is kind of the same way. Steel High, I mean, Ty, you coach there, you understand what goes on, and it's just a difficult place to go.
The pit at Steel High. How about Coach Ty Sabercool? You've coached some big games, some impactful games, meaningful games. Where was it tough for you to coach and for your players to play?
I mean, I think in today's day and age, there's a lot of the courts are set up where there's a lot of space between the first row of bleachers and the court. So some of the older school gyms like Carlisle, Steel High, even like Camp Hill, where like the bleachers are right on top of you. When you have a full gym, I mean, those are fun games to play in, and tough environments to play in because everyone's right on top of you. So I would say some of those types of gyms are the tough ones to play in.
Carlisle, they have some impassioned fans too. They have a great student section, and they know how to get it done there and supporting their team wise. And how about you, Coach Mark Zerby? Tough place to coach for you.
I agree with Paul and Ty. I mean, the roller pit and Camp Hill, I think gyms that have like the end zone bleachers that can get you right, guys are on the foul line, but anyone that's got a strong tradition of winning and everything like that. We talked about Tristan and Tremaine when I was coaching at Cedar Cliff and they're up in Mid-Penn 1. I felt like we were down 15 in warmups. I mean, you just weren't going to win that game no matter what you did.
Right.
And I mean, and then, they're heckling you, and it's one of those things where you just, you couldn't get out of there fast enough. And no matter what you did, even if you held them to a 1 quarter, but it wasn't ever going to be enough probably to stop them for 4. But yeah, I think places like that, certainly the roller pit, Camp Hill, when they were really good too, are places that come to mind.
Good. Okay. There you go, Kirby. Thank you for the question. Okay, let's jump back into this. Next up is another class of 2025 guy. J.J. Kelly was the first one, and there's 2. So Owen Schlager from Trinity. One of the feathers in his cap I know for sure is that he plays for a very hallowed Trinity boys basketball program. Of course, multiple state champions and lots of great players. And he finished his career as the all-time leading scorer. Looking around here, I don't know if any of you really coached against him, right? I'm sure you've all seen him play. You did? Yeah. Talk about Schlager.
From his sophomore year, he was a problem. I mean, we played him in the Mid-Penn semifinal, 2 years ago. When we went from the Capitol to the Keystone, I wanted to keep some rivals on Steelton. I couldn't keep Middletown, but I kept Trinity even as a singleton game. And we played them earlier in the year. I think they beat us 81-80. And it was just super talented. They had a lot of long guys in there too. And then he kind of took over in the Mid-Penn semifinal. They beat us, and then I think they lost to State College that year. So this is going back like 3 years. But
at Cumberland Valley, that game was. Yeah.
Right. And then they played Cumberland Valley for the Mid-Penn final over here at Milton Hershey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, just seeing him throughout his career, but, he and to be the all-time leading scorer at Trinity with all those people that have come through is, you didn't even mention Tim Edwards was a really great player back in there, Austin Gilbertson and all the Morris kids. And you're going back from forever. So to have that accomplishment for him is significant. Yeah,
he had great hands, or he has great hands, the Schlager, I thought. One of the greatest plays I ever saw, and I don't know why I thought it was so great. It's something you don't see often. He shot a 3 against Susquehanna Township just last year, and the Susquehanna Township player blocked it. Blocked it hard, right into his face. He got his hands up in front of his face, caught the ball, and put it right back up and made a 3. You follow me there? It was absolutely incredible. Whoever I was sitting with, I'm like, did you just see that? He just didn't give up on the play. He had the wherewithal to keep his hands right up there and catch the block, and it was just incredible. So hats off to Owen Schlager. Demetric Scott, Greencastle, 08. Somebody please tell, for those who haven't seen him, this guy was incredible,
Well,
the real
I
deal.
could give you a little insight on that dude, because I'm telling you, he played at Greencastle, and I was at Lebanon in 2007. And we played at Hershey High School in a district, quarterfinal it was. And all the scout reports, half of it, he wasn't on. He played in like half the games. Then he shows up. He was 6'7", draining shots from everywhere, running the floor, offensive rebounding, just all over the place. Just an incredible knack for scoring and finding the basketball. Yeah, they beat us that night. I had a kid, Tyler Spancake, had 19 points in the fourth quarter. It wasn't enough. They beat us by a couple and went on to the state title game. I think it was Drew Astorino from Meadville hit a elbow jump shot to beat Greencastle in that state title game.
Yeah, if you and again, with respect to all Scott's teammates, but if you lead a Greencastle team to a state championship game, that's special. You're one heck of a player. That's for one heck of a competitor, just somebody that's a leader. So congratulations to Demetric Scott. How about Braden Shrewsbury, State College, class of 2023? He had the one game I watched him play maybe 5 or 6 times. The game I just mentioned, that Mid-Penn championship game against Trinity 2 years ago at Cumberland Valley in the Dome, was one of the most electric games I've ever seen. Anybody else over there? Anybody else watch that game? I mean, this guy couldn't miss. The only thing that got him to stop making shots was when he was Shawley took him out of the game, just because they were up so big. Seriously, he just could not miss, and they were fadeaways, and he was fading away to the right, to the left, and we don't have any guys that were coaching in the Commonwealth. But what can somebody tell me about Braden Shrewsbury from State College?
I went out to Notre Dame last fall for a football game, and there was an open men's basketball practice that we ended up going to, and he's just adjusted really well, even up into the ACC. And so you just knew, I just thought for him, he just year in and year out got significantly better, and not surprising that he's having the opportunity that he has, even with his dad being the head coach out at Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah, he's gonna have to prove that and get that on his own, though. At that level, dad's not going to help him that much. That's for sure at all. How about Devin Thomas, Central Dauphin? He has to be near the top of this list, I would think. Led his 2012 team, I guess it was, to a state semifinal. They ended up losing to Chester
at the Geigel.
Yep.
At the Geigel. And a future NBA player for Chester. So, but Thomas, he just achieved a whole lot. That was kind of like a glory window for Central Dauphin. They weren't that great before he came around. They weren't that great afterwards. So you could probably put your thumb on Devin Thomas making the difference there. Anybody want to talk about Devin Thomas? I think he was 6'8". He was really strong. Not a great shooter, but he didn't really have to be at the high school level. He was a 4-year starter at Wake Forest. Anybody want to take Devin Thomas?
Yeah, he's closer to 6'9". And then his career at Wake Forest was incredible. He played just about 10 years overseas. Coming out of Wake Forest, he had a summer opportunity with Minnesota Timberwolves, I think, before he played overseas. His mom, Tina Thomas, is our girls coach, does a great job. And it was funny. We had an unfortunate, after our season was over, one of the kids inadvertently broke the backboard at our school. And I wasn't really sure how to handle that. But Tina's like, well, my son's broken too. That's what she told me.
Yeah.
And so she had some experience. I think he broke one over at Cumberland Valley and that, but he I think it was a foot injury toward the end, but he's done some work with our players. But he had a phenomenal career in the ACC at Wake Forest and obviously at Central Dauphin. So
Yeah.
he's kind of a no-brainer for this.
Yeah, he's a no-brainer for sure. And the next one's a no-brainer too. Mike Walker from Trinity, another state champion. I mean, you talk to anybody that knows about basketball in this area, anybody, and they'll tell you Mike Walker's right near the top of this list for sure. That was a long time ago, 21 years ago. Anyone but want to take the Mike Walker profile here and run with it?
All I can remember that the Ivies were really hot on him. I think he maybe verbaled with Fran Dunphy at Penn at the time. John Thompson, I told you I worked camp at Princeton for a long time, and a guy named Mike Brennan, before John went to Georgetown, was the head coach at Princeton, and they came to the Giant Center to watch Mike in a playoff game, and they were completely impressed. And there was like 3 or 4 other Ivy League schools all there keeping a close eye on him. And then they thought I think were in the mix, but of course they couldn't offer scholarships. And I think when Penn State offered, the rest was history. But
and he had a nice career there too. Yeah. Yeah. So he's another one, I think. And I didn't mention this for all the guys, but there's some guys that were just kind of no-brainers, pardon the expression, slam dunks. And those last two, Devin Thomas and Mike Walker, were definitely in that category. Chance Westry, this is the 4th Trinity player. I think what I like the most about Chance, and he did not graduate from Trinity. He went off to a prep school, and he's now
UAB.
UAB, okay. The one thing I liked about Chance was he seemed pretty selfless to me. He loved to pass the ball. Did anybody else notice that? I mean, he scored a lot of points because he was a really good player, and he had good size and he could shoot the ball, but he was very athletic, and he helped Trinity to a state championship game, and they were the runners-up. Who was that? Lincoln Park that beat him in overtime, maybe? Am I getting that right at all? Am I even close there? But yeah, he'll go down as one of the better players in Trinity history, that's for sure. And let's finish it out. And I think Coach Savercool, we'll give you this one. Mike Zingari, Redland, 2012. I know you're familiar with him. And
yeah, obviously Paul and Zer, we coached against him whenever he was the head coach of Redland. But, again, just another one of those Redland players during that stretch that were very talented. I mean, during Zangari's time, there were the Twin Towers with Zangari and Zach, and Hershey had Etherton and Banis, I think, together, right? And they were both. That was just, there wasn't much room on the floor whenever those two teams played against each other because there was a lot of size running around in the paint. So, but Mike just could impact the game in a lot of ways and continued on, in college.
Okay, so that's top to bottom from Baylor Carroll down to Zangari. And
I have somebody else that maybe wasn't mentioned. I was talking to Rick Ativo today a little bit and talking about his run with the district titles. And I take half of this, but Luke Hedrick was an all-state player at LD, won a district title with LD, but he started 2 years for us at Hershey before moving over to LD. He was a heck of a player along with Will.
Well, that was a really good team.
Oh, they're fun to watch. Horrible to play against, but fun to watch.
Hedrick was very athletic, very quick, very fast, had a great shot, great quick release, telling you things you've seen already on your own. But yeah, that's a great name. Anybody else want to throw a name out there that I didn't read on the let's call it the runners up list?
Dylan Hudson Emery wasn't bad.
No, he wasn't. That's for sure. I want to mention again, guys. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. We have a couple minutes. I was going to try to keep this under an hour. We're 6 minutes to the hour. Can we somehow put together a top 5? I think I would probably start with not in any particular order. I like Thomas and Walker on that top 5, that all-time top 5. If we fail at this, or if you guys don't want to do it, then we don't have to do it. But who else? Anybody
It's
like those
picking your
two?
favorite child. You can't do
Oh
it.
my, yeah. We
You
don't
can't
have
do
to.
it.
You guys don't seem too excited.
And I've got 3 kids, and they all think they're my favorite. So everybody
Okay.
I mention is my favorite.
I am so willing to just stop right here. I'll even take those 2 off the board and just go back to 25.
I told Paul.
If I could get, they'd all be Hershey kids. So
Okay, all right.
I said to Paul, I think you weren't on earlier, but I talked to Ray Skipworth, who was a phenomenal Hershey player in 2000, graduate, and his son is a big-time player at the Bullis School in Washington, D.C. that already has multiple Division I interests. But he's another.
I cannot get him to transfer back to Hershey, Mark. I don't know why. He thinks the Bullis School's better for him.
Man.
But, I tell Rod D, you got to come back.
It's a pretty good time to be at Hershey, isn't it?
It'd be a great time. Hey, we'll take them all.
So yeah, I'm going to get crap now. Why'd you pick Thomas and Walker? We're pulling that back. We're not doing any top 5 at all. That was a bad
If you're going to pick 2, they're up there.
I think they're up there.
I think you're right.
So thank you guys. I want to mention again, first of all, I think I can speak for the 4 of us that we respect the knowledge and judgment of those who crafted this list, okay, and all the lists, along with appreciating the time and effort it took to create them. I know it was a painstaking process for the guy that put this list together, and he cared very, very much. He was very, very serious about it. And the other thing I know is that if I asked 100 people to put together a list of the best 25 players in the last 25 years, I might get 100 different lists. I mean, seriously. We're close to it. So, there were no favoritism, no axes to grind. And, no matter how you feel about it, there's just a lot of great players. So anyway, let's thank the sponsors here. I didn't do that early on. Rickaba's Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, the Tire Mart, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Tonino's Pizza, American Legion Post 272, Hoffman Ford, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Modern Imprint, Sam Hartley Decking, Crystal Bobette, Iron Valley Real Estate, and Underdog Sports Bar and Grill. Thanks to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. So how's things looking on your end down in Hershey, Coach Blackburn?
Had a good summer, just trying to keep up with everybody else around us. We're not doing anything different. We're just trying to do a little bit better, and we'll see how it goes. But things are good. Kids are healthy. A lot of kids are playing fall sports. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes, and that's a great thing. And we're excited for another school year. It's a great thing about being a teacher and a coach. You get to try it over again and see if you could do it better, and hopefully you don't do it worse.
We'll and you mentioned at least one thing that happened like a long, long time ago that you said, man, I wish I had that back. It's easy. I read Dr. Bob Rotella. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him at all, but he talks about athletes and they're so good at remembering the negative, the putt they missed, the shot they missed. And I guess that's just human though. So, but you've done a lot of great things too, and made a lot of good calls and drawn up a lot of great plays. So Coach Ty Sabercool, Northern, first year. What's going on over there?
Oh, we're just all trying to be like Hershey right now. So
it's not easy, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting our feet established and building kind of our standards and our pillars that we want our program to operate on. So it was a productive summer of learning and a new style and a new approach. But we're all looking up to Hershey right now.
They Northern got it. They got their guy, man. I'm very happy for you. I'm happy for them that they got you. And the only thing is, I lost a regular panelist off of my basketball recap show every Sunday night at 6. But we can have you on as a guest now, right?
Yeah, you can take Zerby. Zerby's smarter than me anyway.
Well, we're gonna have all 3 of you on.
Hey, just to quantify Ty's comments about Hershey, when we played at Cedar Cliff in the division, I would always come in early with the team, and he would tell me, "Oh man, your team's so good. I don't know what we're going to do with you. You've done a great job, Paul. Your players are incredible. We're going to struggle so bad." Meanwhile, we lose I won this year at Cedar Cliff for the first time in 6 years. So
that's kind of the stuff that he says all the time, right?
I know how it goes, Ty.
The sandbagging comes from Strickland.
I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Man. Okay. So Coach Zerby, you are now the athletic director at a place that you love. Certainly your second home, Milton Hershey. What's going on down in Milton Hershey?
It's been great. 4 years in, I coached for 2 years after we had to kind of opt out of sports during the COVID, and I definitely kind of miss it a little bit. But I can understand, because I used to be so locked in with basketball. I try to be locked in with all the programs now. I had lunch with the cheerleaders and go down to soccer practice, and it's been a lot of fun to kind of get to know all of the student athletes, and try to watch them improve and grow and everything like that. And fall is usually our busiest time. Paul will know that next Friday is the Cocoa Bean for the annual Milton Hershey football kickoff or game. This year kickoff. So yeah, we get through the scrimmages this weekend and next week, and then we're into it, and it'll be pretty busy.
Okay. Thank you, Coach Zerby. You guys are all awesome men, great leaders of young men, great coaches. I appreciate your help here. I think we got out of that one alive. We assembled tonight to be positive and talk about what we loved about these lists, about this particular list. And I think we did a great job. That was fun talking about these guys. So my hat's off to PennLive for putting the list together. And I think next up, we're going to do either girls basketball or football. We're going to kind of chip away at these lists and try to get some people who have been there and done that, like Coach Zerby, Coach Sabercool, and Coach Blackburn. Thanks, guys. Anything else?
Thanks for having us.
All right. We really appreciate it. Yep. We'll talk to you all soon.